My little K24 swapped EK hatch has been awesome this year. With the added aero, it felt unstoppable, both figuratively and literally. Out of the 2 events that I've competed in this year, I've won both, and in order to win the championship title, I'll need to win a few more. But I don't want to get too cocky with the car. Now is not the time to sit back and relax. If I want to win the championship title, I'll need to continue to progress as a driver and continue to improve the setup on this car. We've won 2 events this season so far. We're off to a really good start and hopefully we'll win the championship title. But there's a lot of other fast guys in this class and a lot of good competition, and my car is starting to show some weak points. So in this episode, I'm going to address some of those weak points, make this car even faster and more reliable. By the end of this video, it's going to look like an entirely different car. You'll see what I mean. When any modification is done to a car, it requires balance. An improvement in one area might make another area weaker. These items need to be balanced out, and with the improvement of aerodynamics on the car this year comes the drawback of a weakness of another quite important area. One of the biggest talking points about my car are these brakes. These are Porsche 986 calipers and they're fantastic. I absolutely love these brakes. I had them all last season with 0 issues whatsoever. Unfortunately, this year with the front aero on the car, it's blocking off the airflow to the brakes, and as a result, they're overheating. I can only get about 3 hot laps before my brake fluid starts boiling, and I'm running some of the most expensive stuff that you can get, and it's still boiling the fluid. So unfortunately, gotta do something about that. We have 2 options. We can run brake ducting to this to cool it off by running like a hose around the back, but that is going to increase the drag on the car and also have a hose in the wheel well, which could get caught on things. So a better solution is to go with some bigger brakes that allow more heat dissipation. So it's time to say goodbye to these amazing Porsche brakes and go with something better. These are my favorite brakes of all time. This is the StopTech C43 kit, which is their competition caliper, in this lovely nickel finish. It's very shiny, and it's got these little cutouts kind of in between the piston and everything to make it lightweight. I think this caliper only weighs 4 pounds, which is 2 pounds lighter than my Porsche caliper on there. And the rotor is a 2-piece, and it is also 1 pound lighter than the current rotors that I have on the car. But the biggest advantage of going with these brakes is not the size, but the width. It's wider, which is what really matters here. This is a 32 mil wide rotor, which is really gonna help when it comes to heat dissipation because you got all that extra mass and all that extra cooling vanes, which should really fix my problem. It's not necessarily about the size of these brakes, but it's about the width for that heat dissipation. And I'm also running the StopTech brake pads. I've never used these before. These are the SR33 pads, so I'm curious to see how these feel out on track, but I'm told that they would perform very well. So let's get this on the car and reduce that unsprung weight by 3 pounds total, I think, all the while getting bigger brakes on the car.
Can you lock the bathroom next time?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
So these stainless steel braid lines are not gonna like swell up when you're pressing the brake pedal, so it gives you a firmer brake pedal. And it's coated, so if little rocks and stuff hit it, it won't chip away at the stainless steel braiding. They're pretty good lines. I've actually been running them for like 2 years. So I think it might be time to just kind of change them out though. Just keep some fresh ones in there. You can kind of see they're yellowing a little bit, so it's a good service item to take care of. right, well, the brakes are all finally officially installed, and they're looking great. They're all bled and ready to go. Just have to bed in the pads. I'll probably do that on the way to the racetrack. Yeah, very excited to have some good brakes on the car. Brakes are probably the most important thing you can do to your car, so I'm glad that I'm finally not going to overheat and boil my fluid on track anymore. At least hopefully. We'll find out when we get to the track. But I got a good feeling about these. So yeah, now that we've tackled the most important thing to the car, let's get to something a little bit more cosmetic. Some of you have noticed in the in-car footage from this car that the headliner has seen better days. It's pretty typical on Civics for the headliners to kind of droop down like this, but it's starting to bother me a little bit. I don't necessarily look up when I'm driving on track, so that's why I've left it up until now, but it's probably time to tackle that and make it just a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer, and a little bit less distracting. So we're gonna wrap it with some black Alcantara, and it should look a lot nicer. You might be wondering by now, why don't I just remove the headliner, not put it back in? Well, unfortunately, class rules require that you keep all interior pieces unless you're replacing it with something safety equipment related, which is why most of the rear of this car is taken out, because I have this roll bar back here, which removes these plastic panels and rear seats that would otherwise be in the way of the roll bar. Unfortunately, the headliner is not in the way of the roll bar, so I have to keep it. Oh, this is very cardboardy. Wow, it's basically just cardboard. Huh.
I've always wondered how difficult this job was to do. Alcantara headliners always seem so nice, but thankfully this is one of the most simple jobs to do. It's just glued into place with some headliner spray glue. And finally, we're here at Elision's Wraps, because the Civic is about to get a whole new look. First things first though, we're gonna get the car prepped by taking off the old decals, getting it cleaned up, and doing any necessary bodywork to make sure the surface is smooth and clean for the new design that we're putting on. With Mia now looking completely naked, it's time to print out the new design.
I'm Brian McGuire and we are at Elision's Wraps. We are wrapping a Valvoline race car for Gears and Gasoline. Last time I talked to you, I said I wanted to wrap it in a graphics and you're like, I don't know. But here we are. Majority of the time they get wrapped in livery is for sponsorship. In your case, it's going to be for Valvoline, Falcon Tire, K-Tuned, ASM. We start off with the design process. We go back and forth on design. We didn't really go back and forth too many times. I think we had maybe 3 or 4 edits on it, which wasn't bad. Then we just fine-tuned it today once the car got here, just to make sure everything's gonna fit and all that. I cut out the fender, so the fender is gonna be a separate piece. The driver door and back is going to be a piece. The rocker panel is a separate piece. The roof is one piece. The hood is one piece. The bumpers are all one piece. It's definitely a different process than the color change. You know, last time you guys were here, like, let's roll it in, let's get it prepped, and let's start wrapping. You know what I mean? This time it's a lot more behind the computer, behind the printer. And of course, once it's done being printed, then we put a clear coat laminate over top of it. So naturally, this material is going to be a lot thicker than the color change material.
So what we're doing here is once we've got the prints off the printer here, I'll bring it here and put it on our cold laminator. I will wash it, make sure there's no dust going on the print as it goes through the laminator.
Now that everything's pretty much laminated, ready to go, we're going to wipe the car down with alcohol, get it prepped. We're going to use some 94 primer. I'm going to throw all that down and start wrapping and get it going.
I've had a few companies ask about putting their name and logo on the Civic, but I wanted to wait until we had the companies that we really believe in. Much like our sponsor videos, we want to make sure we are only representing companies that we personally use and endorse. Not only that, but we also want the car to look good. And seeing it all on the car now in person, I cannot believe how good it turned out. I can't wait to see this car with its new look flying around the track.